There is so much in you that can help other people. And the sooner we start believing that, the sooner we can start living into that.
So it's yeah, I'm nervous, but at the end of the day, it's I might as well share this, because if I keep it to myself, I'm being selfish.
We can be the best storyteller in the world, but if we're not marketing ourselves somehow, it's going to be hard to grow this business. On episode 363 of the podcast, you will discover the key to pricing your video services effectively and charging what you are worth. You'll also learn some actionable strategies for working with better clients and making a greater impact in the video production industry. And finally, you're going to gain some insights into building confidence in your video business and thinking differently to achieve success. What is up, my friend? Hey, it is Ryan from Studio Sherpas and the Grow Your Video Business podcast. I'm so happy that you are here. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that you're here. We're all happy. This is great. Welcome to another episode of the show. If you're new here, this show is all about helping you build a better video production business where we focus on the business of production. And sometimes that includes talking about gear and lenses and, fun stuff like that. But most of the time it's mindset, or we talk about sales tactics or ways we should be marketing ourselves. We talk about AI and all of the things that aren't nearly as sexy as new cameras, new features, all of that stuff. That stuff's good and important, but here we are today talking about more business stuff for you, for me, for us, the collective community of video production people, most that are working in the corporate commercial space. So I'm glad that you're here, and I'm excited for this episode in the spirit of building a more successful video business. And really, this isn't to take over the world. My hope for you, sure, maybe I want you to take over the world. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't want you to do that, but I want you to build something that is sustainable, that is successful financially, that makes an impact in the world, that makes the world a better place. And I put together a workshop that I call the 6-Figure Filmmaker Workshop, where I share 3 of the things that I think you need. Maybe that's a little presumptuous. 3 of the things that have had the biggest impact in my business over the last 19 years of me running a 7-figure video production business. I put all of this stuff into an hour-long workshop that you can learn from my mistakes way faster than I learned from them. And you can get access to this free workshop if you go to studiosherpas.com/workshop and watch that, take some notes, and hopefully you can apply those things in your business and get some takeaways that help you be able to really charge what you're worth and build something that could even potentially outlast you. How cool would that be? All right, with that, let's get into today's episode. Here we go. What's up, friends? Welcome to another episode of the show. Today with me is a returning guest, getting choked up here. Josh Emerick, who is a Ohio-based filmmaker, DP. He's in my mastermind. We just hung out at the Onward Summits. Josh, so happy to have you back on the show, man.
Always so happy to be here and contribute to such a great show. And it was awesome seeing you recently. So glad to be back here chatting with you again.
That was really fun, hanging out at my house, hanging out at the studio. Man, you bring such a great value to our filmmaker community. I appreciate so much your willingness to just be open, honest. You are generous with your praise, and you're just so intentional and relational, and the kind of relational that people want to be around. So I am grateful for the kind of person that you are and what you bring to the Studio Sherpas community, but also, to, other people you've introduced me to that have no connection to the Sherpas world, that adore you and really appreciate you. So, man, just the way that you live, the way you're intentional in your marriage and as a dad, and the things that you care about, and really the deep reverence that you have for the practice in the business of filmmaking and all of the things. So I'm grateful. And if you don't know Josh, you got to get to know him. He's the best.
I mean, I'm a pretty open book. I'm pretty willing to talk to everyone. And I'll also say is like, I'm not good at taking compliments, but I'm just going to say thank you. Because I'm
That's good. That's
trying
how
to
you do
work
it.
on that and get better at that. But truthfully, like I love connecting people. I've appreciated, everything that this show's done for me. So every time I meet someone new that I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm learning so much from them. How do I give this gift forward? So
Mhm.
that's where that comes from. I know it's beneficial to me. So I want to pass that along. You're
That's
the same
awesome.
way.
I appreciate that. I did want to bring up. I just remember this as you were talking at the Onward Summit. We do these things called hot seats, which are also things that we do in our mastermind, where you get like 20 to 30 minutes or so to kind of share a problem, a struggle, something that you're trying to overcome in your business, and it's an opportunity to share. And then it gives the community an opportunity to ask clarifying questions, and then maybe give you their experience, ways that they've approached maybe something similar, or what would they do if they were in your shoes. And I had asked Josh very last minute, I think 3 minutes before we started the session, I said, hey, would you be okay if I brought you up in front and, we just kind of dove into this cool way that you do behind the scenes stuff. And you're just like, yeah, that's totally cool. And then I found out later that you were dying inside. Why is he doing this to me? I don't want to be on stage and in front of people. So I thought that was really funny, and sorry, not sorry, because it was a great session.
Though, that's a great point, and not to detract us here, but something I've been obsessed with since 2015 is putting myself in really uncomfortable situations. There's this great thing that I heard about anxiety, and we all face anxiety. And I think one of the best ways to actually grow is working through that. And so often I try to flip when I'm really anxious or nervous about something to say, hey, this can actually be exciting because people want to learn about this. They want to hear about this. So even though it's super uncomfortable for me to do that, the mental dialogue I have is like, no, this could help someone. And I had so many conversations with people at the Onward Summit after that about BTS. They're
That's
asking
what I'm
me more questions
saying.
about it. So it's like, yeah, I'm nervous, but at the end of the day, it's like, I might as well share this because if I keep it to myself, I'm being selfish.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And that's, again, the way that you learn and you process out loud, it is such a gift. And just that alone, we could probably end this episode and say, that's worth it. It's like this whole podcast wouldn't have started if Matt and I didn't have the guts to say, you know what, I feel like somebody might be able to benefit from the mistakes that I've made, or from the things that I've figured out. But so much of the soundtrack that we hear says nope, you definitely don't want to share. That's going to be embarrassing. People are going to think you're a fool. People are going to be like, are you serious? You think you're successful? How dare you start a show, and how dare you get in front of a room of people and pretend like you've got everything all together? And it's like, whoa. That's not what I'm saying. I'm definitely not saying I got it all together. I'm definitely not saying I've got it all figured out. But at this point in my life, I've at least overcome this thing, or I'm overcoming this thing, and here's what I'm doing to do that. I think that's such a powerful. I don't want that to go missed. Is that how you say it? I don't want that to be missed. I don't want that to
Fall
go
on deaf ears.
I don't want it to do that either. Because I just think that the way that we are crafted and the things that we are good at as filmmakers and people that are just starting their video business journey, or people that have been doing it for a long time, there is so much in you that can help other people. And the sooner we start believing that, the sooner we can start living into that, and the sooner we can be helpful. And what's beautiful when you're helpful, when you try to add value, is that it comes back to you. And that's one of the coolest things. Not that we're setting out. I didn't create a show to say, okay, I'm doing this because I know it's going to be good for me. But very quickly I learned wow, all the things that I've learned by sitting at the feet of these people that I have on this show, that this is incredible. So yeah, sure, it looks and might feel like this is a service for all other filmmakers, but here I am taking notes. I just told you, the episode I was on right before this, the interview, the woman off the charts, so good. So, if we can believe that, man, when you give, you actually do receive, and it might not look the same. It's going to look different, but it is this, old teaching that it's just true. So thank you.
You know, one other thing I'll add on to this, and I got this from my instructor when I was in college in like calculus, and he always said like everyone else in the classroom is smarter than him. And the reason for that is because he's up there giving away the information left and right. But if we don't give anything back, he can't learn anything. And for me, the biggest lesson that he was always trying to teach was like, if we give, we actually start to become a little bit smarter because we start to learn more about the room. We start to actually become practicers. I think one of the reasons that we don't want to share is because we're scared to share. We're scared to put that out there. There's this accountability thing that we say when we put something out into the universe. But for me, it's like as soon as I started sharing more along my journey, whether it was like a lesson learned, a failure, it starts to hold me to a new standard, and it makes me process that. It makes me become better in that process. So I think part of like being brave or bold or getting outside of our comfort zone is just honestly becoming that better version of ourselves. Like if we want to really like grow, we have to put ourselves in those uncomfortable situations. And to teach someone else something, like I can't imagine, there's probably conversations you've had over the years on this show that were like, maybe I don't really know what I'm talking about here. But as soon as you say it out loud, you probably went back and you're like, I'm going to get better at this. I'm going to do this better. Because I know I've done that for myself. There's things I've said 3 years ago that I'm just now becoming.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, that idea of we don't want to be practicers. Like we want to have it figured out. And then that's when we think that, oh, we can share. But if that's the mindset, then I think there's even still then the question comes into play. Like when we think we have something kind of figured out, but we haven't shared the journey or anything along the way, then we start wondering, well, is this actually good enough to share? Because there's other people that are ahead of me. So maybe I figured this out, but now as I'm looking at my competition or other people that inspire me, it's not as good as their thing. So I probably shouldn't share this anyway. And if there's one thing I've learned, it doesn't matter who you are. There is somebody that can benefit from your journey, your story, your experience. And the sooner we can start practicing and throwing that out there, like, hey, you know what? I don't have it all figured out, but why don't you try this? Because I've tried that and it's actually worked for me. And I don't do it perfectly, but maybe consider that. I don't know. I mean, that's so much more helpful than like you waiting until you get the thing figured out, because maybe by the time you get the thing figured out, there's a new way to do it or there's a better way to do it. And you didn't help anybody along the way. And it took you a little bit longer to figure it out because you were by yourself.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better.
We said it together. That was good. So what's currently working in your video business these days?
I don't know. It's getting easier, which I think one of the things that I've had to wrestle with a little bit this year. 2023 has been hard for a lot of people, and we've definitely had hardships throughout the year. I read this book a few years ago. It's called Company of One by Paul Jarvis. It really talks about kind of setting a lifestyle based off of that. So truthfully, I don't push super hard. I kind of set a goal and I try to hit that for the year. And as long as I hit those goals, I live comfortably with it. So we're not crushing it. But at the same time, I'm pretty clear of what I need to do to be able to survive. And I'm not making a bunch of uncalculated decisions like I did 2017 and previous. So this year, honestly, our system worked really well. I'm balancing between like a music video company and a corporate commercial company. So I'm the opposite of a niche down guy in terms of what we do, but I'm really focused on a certain customer type. And I've been focused on making our efficiencies a lot smoother. So I don't know, like it feels like the sales process has gone smoother. Like we don't have perfect clients left and right. Like there's always going to be room for improvement. But this year was a little easier and I was kind of expecting it to be a little harder. We had, I guess it was like 6 or so weeks ago, we had a pretty stressful month. But for the most part, 2023 was really good for us. We actually did a lot better. And we kind of had our eyes closed and hit a lot of our goals rather than like really looking at it left and right. I think the biggest thing that played a role was just, I feel like we're growing up a little bit more and we're starting to become, because I'm a solopreneur, but I hire a lot of subcontractors. I treat all my subcontractors like we have a team culture. And I think one day we'll have a team. But this year, I feel like I lined up a vision and I tried to work that a little bit clearer than I have in the past. And it feels effortless, but I also feel like that's years of reading tons of books, putting a lot of plans together, experimenting, failing a lot, and now being like, well, let's just try this simple thing for the course of the year. And I don't know, things have been working good. I think we've gotten better at negotiating. I've really went into a headspace with every single deal, not to negotiate against, but to kind of come to the other side of the table with my clients and be like, which one of these deals looks best to you? Like my visual model is we're sitting beside each other and like, I don't want you to choose one of these deals unless it makes sense for you. We always pitch in threes, and it's like all three of these options are good for me and for you. It's just which one feels best to you. And like anytime we've run into kind of resistance, one of the things I kind of always say is I'm like, let's just take price off the table for a second. If you were just looking at this and you weren't looking at the price and we were just looking at the little deliverables and the impact that this could make, could you tell me which one you're really drawn to? Can you tell me why that is? And so often they would articulate what that is. And I'd say, listen, like, let me cut you a deal here if that makes a big difference. And, I'm all for cutting a deal if it makes an impact and as long as it doesn't compromise this. Now, I'm not just giving money away. A lot of times I'm like, we got to cut this off. It sounds like you don't really need that thing, but you're really putting a premium over here. So let's kind of look at proposals as like, this is a version 1, but we'll kind of customize this to be a version 2 that gets you kind of sign on the line. So I'm trying to sell you, but I'm trying to sell you on something that you're articulating back to me.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And the only way that you can give them something, you said you're just really re-articulating what they've already said, but that really comes out of the kinds of questions that you're asking, right? What are the problems that they're having or whatever your process is, that leads to very helpful and informed solutions.
Yeah.
So I just think that's really powerful for you to be doing that, because if you're only saying like, well, okay, here you need a video. Okay, these are the 3 that we're going to suggest. You're not articulating any pain point or struggle or frustration or regurgitating anything that they've really said outside of like, we need a video to grow our, sales team or to get more customers or whatever. Yeah. Okay, well, our best sales video options are these. So can you talk a little bit about that process? Like how do you come to that place where you're giving them, informed options?
Yeah. So I'll bring this back to the vision. So with JCP, our tagline is evolving artist. With Mylan, our tagline is story takes responsibility. Now those sound super broad and lofty or whatever, but I'm always trying to get it down to like 5 words or less. And this is like my guidepost for how we interact with our clients, what this work really means to me, what it means to them, and how to articulate this back to our team. So, I'll use JCP. We've done that for the longest, the music video brand. To me, evolving artists is not making a pretty music video. I don't even say we make music videos. Our big promise is the deliverables. Like when you work with us, it's not about getting a perfect music video. Truthfully, most of the clients that we work with, they really suffer from this. They're like either overly analytical or they're super like lofty creative ideation. And, we always say there's a divide there and we're trying to bridge the gap with art direction and storytelling. So, hey, how do we play an emotional storytelling? Well, I have to ask you a lot of questions. If I could say, what's a pretty music video to you? No one cares. What they do care about is like, is this video going to perform? Well, the video is not necessarily going to perform, but if I give you a music video, a bunch of teasers, stills, GIF, behind the scenes, all this content, there's 5 of you in this band that can now market yourselves. So the gift we're really giving them is the ability to be confident marketers. When I name the villain, it's that they are like so scared to be able to put themselves out there. And it's mostly because they're focusing on trends. They're focusing on all this stuff. And I'm like, those things are great, but we got to infuse it with storytelling because you're going to have a video or a piece of content that doesn't perform. Whether you're a brand or you're a band or you're whatever, you're going to put something out there that's not going to perform. And if you give up after that, then it's no good to you. So a lot of our conversation is like, what are your goals? What do you really want to do? Like, even when we're trying to digest like a budget, a lot of times I say is like, you're probably knocking on the door because you want a music video right now. That's not what you want. What you probably want is 3 music videos, and for us to put a budget together that condenses all this down. Instead of you spending $5,000 a piece, What if we could do like 3 videos for 12 grand and save you $3,000 right off the top and raise the budget of all these and just use our planning skills to make this look like, instead of a $15,000 campaign, a $50,000 campaign. So I don't know. We walk through a framework every single time, but most of the time it's building a relationship. It's helping them understand, like, what does evolution look like for you? What does your story, being responsible for you do? Like a brand film, fantastic. But usually you need a couple pieces of content. And most of the time, most of the companies we work with, they start off and they're like, either want to do a 30-second ad or they want to cram 8 ideas into one video. And I'm like, that is a horrible idea. We need to really break up 8 videos that say one thing, but it feels consistent across the board. So consistency, like, we're talking about the importance of consistency. We're talking about what their goals are. We're talking about, like, what are your fears? Like, a lot of times I'm asking them, like, have you had a bad experience before? And I'm trying to address those things. I'm trying to see, what kind of partnership do we want? Like, we walk through this 7-part like model in all of our discovery calls, and it helps them feel more confident walking through this. And if they're price shopping, a lot of the times I'm able to say right then and there, like, we're not going to be the cheapest option. But when you're talking to other people, see if they ask you questions like this. Yeah. See if they make you feel a certain way in your calls with them, or see if they're focused on just closing you to be able to pay the rent. Because we're focused on building a relationship, not just paying our rent.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I'm curious to know, in that process, as you're getting to know them, you're kind of walking through, how you do this. When you ask them, like, what do they really want? I'm curious to know, what does a musician, why do they want a music video? Like, what is that going to do for them, or what could that do for them?
It's, in short, confidence. Like I always say, when they come to us, they're usually feeling pretty overwhelmed. Like, they think they want a pretty video. A lot of times I'm telling them that's really not what you want. Like, if you want to work with us, like, you probably need consistency. So, like, the average ticket value on a music video in Ohio is like 2,500 buckaroos. When we start, we're usually in like the $7,000 to $20,000 range for a lot of our projects. So we're quite a bit above most of our competitors. I never say, I want you to exclusively work with JCP and you're all done after that. A lot of times I'm like, I want to help create a blueprint for you, a model for you, the art direction, to where you can work with us to maybe get this big idea done. And then you can work with some of our partners, or you can work with some of our competitors, and you could use our blueprint to make supportive content for 2,500 buckaroos. Save you some money. Like, I want you to become sustainable. I want you to understand how to steer your ship. A lot of the times when I'm asking the partnership question, I'm like, do you guys have a super clear vision of what you guys want to do, exactly what this is going to be? Because if you do, you probably don't need to hire us. We're going to be a huge waste of your money. Now, if you're struggling to think about, like, how your fashion plays a role, how the theme of your song could kind of come out, like, we refer to ourselves as the theme doctors. We don't come with ideas. We're not storyboarding. We're not pitching things. They have all this emotion attached to their music. So a lot of times I'm saying, like, tell me about your song. Where does it come from? Where's the emotion? Because they have a hard time connecting the dots. Like, I look at The Weeknd as a really great example of, like, art directed music videos. Every single album, he plays a new character. And I always use this analogy where I'm like, you guys are going to write a lot of EPs, albums, and singles. These are all chapters in your book. So let's figure out what the theme of this chapter is, and let's have them talk to each other. So at the end of the day, your book feels really consistent. This is something they don't usually spend a lot of time thinking about. So they're not really hiring me for a music video. They're hiring me for my brain and the way I connect the dots and make things make sense. Because at the end of the day, if you look at our music videos, now you might not see this obviously, but every single music video we do is exactly the same. It doesn't change one bit at all. The only thing that does change is the art direction, the props, the people, the characters, the lighting. But the format, the way we break those up, we have 3 product offerings. That is all it is, and that's all it ever is. And I just fit that mold again and again, and I find different stories to apply into that mold. So it becomes really predictable. We're not the most creative music video company, but we are pretty good at running a system over and over again, not reinventing it.
Dude, that's so good. I love hearing how you explain that. And I do think that as a musician, for them to hear, what you don't want at the end of the day, you don't just want a music video. You want confidence. You want your brand voice to kind of go through So there's this, we can do multiple videos. We can at least create a plan. So whether you're using us or somebody else, so it looks and feels like you, so that I always like who cares? So who cares if it looks and feels like us? Who cares if I have more confidence? That if you have more confidence as a musician, you're gonna be sharing your video with everybody. I don't care, if you spend a little bit or a lot. Like if you're not proud of it, if you don't feel like this is you, or you're in line with your brand, then you're just not going to share it. And so what you're doing is giving them that confidence to help them market themselves. I love how you kind of phrase that. So that it all works together. The effort that they're putting in with what you've helped them create doesn't have to be the most crazy, amazing video, but it does need to be them, right? It needs to be their flavor. It needs to be in line with what they've written and all of that stuff. And so if you're selling that, like, wow, as a musician, as a band, that it becomes a lot easier to buy versus like, well, we're just looking for the cheapest video that we can get done. It's like, if you're a smart musician and you are into the business side of what you do, which, I mean, it's like us video people. Like we can be the best storyteller in the world, but if we're not marketing ourselves somehow, it's going to be really hard to grow this business unless you're the most gifted, storytellers. So to be able to give that to them, that's I love it, dude. It's great.
On that marketing note, real quick, it's like one of the things that's actually helped me become more confident in the sales and our product has been marketing myself. Like I produce a lot of content for myself. Like I started making talking head videos where I just talk about simple subjects. I put, behind the scenes process videos, like our music video recaps, not just publishing our clients' content, but a lot of times, like, I feel like so much for me, I would be like, yeah, video's good. You should invest in it. It's a great investment. It's good for marketing. It's going to do great things for you. And in 2019, I really kind of was like, I want us to have more clients. I want to meet more people, not to make more money, but I'm like, we're like doing a disservice by not meeting more people and serving more people. I started to really realize like we are actually helpful. We're really good for the industry. We're super ethical in our process. And there is a lot of need for that. Yeah. So for me, I started to really market myself and put into action some of these ideas. And I went from this, I would say like a theorist, someone who's like, yeah, video's good, market yourself, put content out there, tell your story, to a practicer who is going to actually put those things out there. And suddenly when people would reach out to me, they would say, hey, like I saw this video that you put out, I saw this, I saw that. And then they would say, well, like, what's the value of video? And I'd be like, well, why are you talking to me? Because I know how to market myself and I want to do the same thing for you. And it doesn't have to just be a music video. We make a bunch of micro content too. That's really the most important and critical thing. And we also walk people through how they can kind of create their own content ideas beyond us. It's like, these are some ideas that we do that you guys should be making yourselves. It doesn't have to be us every single time. And brands can do the same thing and should do the same thing. So it's not just, take bands and you add an R there and you got brands. This applies.
Yes, man, I have come full circle in how I've thought about social media and micro content and being a creator. It's like, well, I get paid when somebody hires me to make content for them. And, I've tried to hack the marketing system. Like, what can I do that doesn't involve me, starting a YouTube channel or an Instagram account or LinkedIn or whatever? What can I do that's going to get us more clients? But in this world where we're creating content, if we can carve out time to create content and have our own strategy to build our confidence, to really, what is the phrase? Put our mouth where our money. Just to do the thing that we're saying, like where we're telling other people, you really should have a brand story. You really should have a music video. Or you really should. It's like, okay, well, do you believe in that so much that you have that? Well, no, but like, I do the thing. Like that's why people hire me. Yeah, but if you can take the risk as a video business owner and say, what would it look like if we did do our own music video, or we did do our own brand video and put ourselves out there the same way that we're encouraging our clients to? If we go through that process, our confidence should grow. And then when we have a conversation with a client, like, it just becomes like very like, hello. Like, we believe in this so much that we're doing it. We're using it. It's not perfect. No, but we don't make perfect videos. Our whole thing is like, you don't learn until you launch. Done is better than perfect. So do the thing like we did the thing. It's working for us. I mean, I've had so many people tell me, man, I love the video that you guys have on your, it's on our Tell Studios website. It's on, like, I think it's at the top of the page. It's like a 90-second, 60-second, like, quick introduction to why I started this business. You see a bunch of B-roll of team members and some B-roll. It's like one of the simplest. I'm almost like, oh my gosh, like, why did we even make this? But people, they're like, that's sweet. Like, we want that for us. We really appreciate that. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, this is like, I'm glad that we did that, because now it's easier for people to understand, well, if the video guy believes in it and he's done it for him, then it would just make sense to say, and then when your confidence is up here and you really believe in what you're doing, and it comes to selling, it doesn't feel like selling. You feel like a helper. You feel like you're just trying to say, listen, like, we believe in this stuff. We really do. We've invested in it, in ourselves. So I say all that to say, like, here I am, all this time later, years and years and years later, saying like, oh, actually, I do believe in the power of social media. And I still, like, it makes me cringe a lot of times where I'm like, oh, I got to create content. I've got to be online. It's like, ugh. But if we're in the business of doing this for other people because we believe in it, then holy cow, if we're doing it, it just makes it exponentially that much more powerful and that much easier to sell to the next client.
And more fun.
And more fun. Yes, 100% more fun. It has been so much more fun because we've seen the value. We a little over a year ago, we said, hey, let's start posting regularly. We hired a team to do our social media, and along the way, I've created stuff. I created more. I was in Uganda for the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm coming back. I'm starting a new YouTube channel. I'm going to create this content. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm creating so much content. But that's what I believe. As a business owner, as a brand, if you're not creating unique content, if you're just creating generic blog posts, or you're just putting stuff online and hoping that, people like, ChatGPT you think is your new best friend because it's creating content for you, but it's not you, and you're not putting your soul into it, and people aren't seeing your face or hearing your voice, you are missing out. And there's so much opportunity if you will invest that. So I'm done, man. I just, I'm all in. Here we go. I gotta calm down.
Can I share something? On the fun note, I
share something on the fun note.
I've learned a lot from you over the years
with
lead magnets and making things. Surprisingly, who would have guessed? But I started doing, I think you had a guest on that talked about like a 6-series like podcast that was basically a lead magnet. I was like, we should do that for ourselves. We're good at video. I want to eventually offer like podcasts as like a video service for like some of our more serious clients. So I did one for JCP and I did one for Mylan. And these are easy. This is stuff that I know how to talk about. And we just talk for 20 minutes, super actionable. And, they don't have a ton of views. Put them on YouTube. But I've had 2 inquiries. One of them instantly booked like $5,000 job. And I had zero resistance whatsoever. And I'm in the middle of negotiating one for like $10,000 to $20,000 right now. That is just like, he hasn't seen any of our work. All he did was he listened to this podcast. He went over to our page and loved our discovery call, like prompt thing that we have. And he was like, I have to work with you. So now we're just figuring out which package is right. And for me, I'm sitting here, I'm like, this is too easy. And all I did was just put out some of my ideas and conversations with me and my director. It wasn't hard work, but it was something that we had to do. And like, it wasn't exactly fun, but it wasn't hard either. And now I'm like, well, we got 20 views on this one video and 2 conversions. That's pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, because if you how many views you say? 20?
20. I did one where I talk about like budgeting videos, and it has less than 20 views on YouTube. I think all together on the podcasting, like all 10 episodes have less than 100 downloads. So that's not a lot.
And that's the crazy thing where our mind has just gone to, well, if you're going to put something on YouTube, like it better get thousands or tens of thousands for it to be worth anything. It should get that many views. But, if you only have 100 people coming to your website a month, and let's say you look at how many clients you need over the course of the year. Maybe your average client is $10,000, and so you need one new client per month. That's $120,000 a year. How many inquiries do you need to get in order to be able to land 12 clients? It's not like thousands I don't think it should be thousands and thousands. So let's just like level set and let's just come back to reality. To run a very successful business, you don't have to have thousands of followers on Instagram or on YouTube or wherever. You just need to have the right ones, the people that align with you. And then when they see the content that you're creating, when they feel what kind of person you are, what kind of business that you're running, or they understand your process as the people are watching your video podcast. And it's like sight unseen. I don't need to see the video. I trust if you're creating this, then you get the process. We just need somebody to take us through the process. There's a bunch of people that can do video, but to have a process, like, wow, that's next level. Like, sign me up. That sounds amazing. All that to say, yeah, just be done with thinking that you have to create something that goes viral. Yeah. Let's just start with creating something that you're able to share from your heart and from your experience why this matters, how this can help somebody, who it can help. And the right person watches that and says like, oh, okay, let's have a call. I'm not ready to hire you, but like, let's have a call because I like it. I like how you're talking about this stuff. I trust you more because all the other video sites video company websites I've been to, it's a bunch of jargon. There's some cool equipment, some nice shots, but nobody's really explaining how it gets done. I don't feel any closer to this person, this brand. So I'm just going to call a few of them and then see who I talk to that I like. But if they get to your site and they see a video and you're talking, they're like, oh, okay, I already feel connected to this guy. Let's book a call with this guy because he seems cool. I mean, he's got like gauge earrings, like that's cool. Is that what you call them? Gauge earrings or just gauges? How do I say that right? Because now I sound
plugs,
like
gauges. I don't know. I was never good at either. I just thought they were cool.
So do it. Stop believing the soundtrack that says no. You need to be as handsome as Ryan, or you need to have as great a voice as Josh to be able to show up on video. Because at the end of the day, people are calling you anyway, or you're going to have a meeting with them anyway, so they're going to see you or they're going to hear you or whatever. So just get over with how you look or sound or whatever insecurities that you have, because unless you're a hermit and you don't do work with people in person, then capture it on video. Do what you're telling them to do. Do it. Make something. Show up. Share your heart. Just make a 30-second video. It says like, here's why I do this work. I'm so super glad that you're on my website. I don't want to sound desperate, but here's our ideal client. This is what we love about doing what we do. If you want to have a conversation, I can talk you through our process. And I am the worst salesperson in the world. I'm not going to twist your arm, but if it's a good fit, then we can have another conversation after that. Boom, done. That's for my style, that works. There's going to be plenty of people that watch that and are like, who is this joker? Like, seriously? He has a beard? Whatever the things are. But it can be as simple as that, right?
Yeah. Solid. I don't know what to say.
I enjoyed that moment of like, what, is Josh going to say something? He just wants me to like keep the conversation going, and this is.
I'm going to trust you. I'm going to let you be the host.
Well, we do have to wind down here in a minute. I want to hear from you as somebody who's listened to the show for a long time, or somebody that is brand new. What piece of advice, and it could be just reinforcing something we've already chatted about today, but what kind of encouragements, how would you like to leave our audience today?
That's a good question. I'm going to bring up something that you keep saying that I think is like the hone in is like the help word. Sales is being helpful. You've said it on the show many times, so this is nothing super new. And I'll add something on top of this. But it's like anytime I'm kind of talking about like being in the sales role, it's like you got to start by being curious. You got to kind of go in and ask some questions, learn some things. When you're curious, you start to gain more understanding. When you start to gain more understanding, you can prescribe a really great solution. When you prescribe a really great solution, that's when you're being a helpful person, helpful resource. Now, that all sounds good. It's like, great, awesome soundbite, whatever. Something that's been helpful for me over the years is like, and I know everyone is guilty of this, is we learn something that we're good at. We get good at shooting, we get good at editing, we find an invoicing software, we figure out a proposal that works. One of the things that's really hard to realize is sometimes what's working isn't what's going to get you to the next level. So you might be able to process this invoice, like something that you've helped me and the guys have helped me in the mastermind is like, I've just now implemented Dubsado. Like I've had a proposal system that has landed me higher level work. Rewind to 2019. The biggest thing that I realized was I was like, we hear everyone on set say, oh my God, you guys are so amazing, so this, so that. But they've negotiated us down up to this point. So I needed to communicate our value better. 2019, I rework our proposal system. I increase our budgets by like double, 3 times, 4 times in a lot of ways. I'm like, oh, great, win, awesome. Now I'm reaching a point where I'm like, these proposals are taking me 2 to 4 hours to write every time. You guys tell me about Dubsado. So it's so painful for me to change my process and take the time learning how to do this. But now that I've implemented this and I've been spending more time, and this is one example, it took me hours of time to learn this. But now I'm able to do this in 30 minutes. So yeah, it took me a lot of time to relearn something, but now I'm able to spend more time on my discovery calls. I'm able to spend more time in my business doing other things. I had to sit here and say, I want to really become like the person who manages experiences for my team and my clients better. So to be helpful is not just in the sales realm. To be helpful is across the board in your business. And sometimes you have to unlearn past behaviors that are working perfectly fine. You have to take a step backwards to kind of rework a different area to become the better version of that you can't fully see.
Dude, there he is, folks. Oh, so good. Lots of good stuff. Thank you for letting me get passionate. That was fun.
Hey, I'm here for it anytime. Love it. And I want to say one other thing too. It's just like, I just genuinely super appreciate this show. Super glad to be on here. I love being behind the scenes and being a quiet person and helping support other people. But I also have to say, it's like, it is an honor to be on a show like this, to get to do things like this and to, talk as I can do, as long as like we can have a conversation. So I appreciate being here. Super glad to be a part of this audience, to be a listener of this audience, and to be in your stratosphere and learn from you.
So good. Yes, you are a great contributor. So I appreciate you. It's the Josh and Ryan Love Fest today, folks.
All day.
Hope you enjoyed it. But this is great. Josh, how can people follow along with the cool stuff that you're doing?
I'm going to say Instagram because that's where I play the most. If you follow me at Emerick, that's the best place to kind of interact with me, DM me. I'm trying to play around on LinkedIn a little bit more, but truthfully, it's just posting content, interacting with other people, and I'm not checking messages. So Instagram, that's where I'm hanging out.
Love it. Yep. Follow him and you will be better. Wow, I can't talk. You will be better for it. How about that? I did.
That's a big promise.
I knew I could do it. Awesome. Thank you, my friend Josh. Appreciate you. And I think I'll see you, next week. We've got Mastermind.
Yes, sir.
See you on Thursday.
See ya. Thank you.
Thank you for hanging with me on this episode. I just did a retake because I said thank you for hanging me, but I know I'm glad that you didn't do that. If you want the show notes of this show, you can go to studiosherpas.com/362. Get all the show notes. If you liked this episode, let me know if there was anything that stood out that has specifically helping you in a certain way, an aha moment, or something that you might do differently in your business because of something that you heard today. Let me know that. You can email me, Ryan, Ryan, at studiosherpas.com, or if you're watching this video, you can leave a comment and let me know what that takeaway is. Definitely would love to hear from you. And if you liked this episode, please share it with somebody that might get something out of it. I would love that. I think that's all I've got. I'll see you on next week's episode. In the meantime, don't be a stranger. If there's anything I can help you with, please let me know. And you can find me on the socials at Ryan Corral, RyanKoral. That's it for now, my friend. I will see you next time. Until then, bye for now.